Hello, this is Vicky from the Spellbound Bead Company, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make this dainty macrame friendship bracelet. To make this bracelet you're going to need 2 meters of c-lon text. I'm using chestnut, and you're going to need some size 6 seed beads. I'm using the matte metallic gold because I think the colours work really nicely together to make a nice autumnal bracelet. And what I've done is I've cut 1/2 metre off the end of the cord, and I've pinned that top and bottom to the mat in half to use as the central core that we're going to knot around. I've then tied a knot at the centre of the 1.5 meters of cord that's left, and then just tied a single square knot just to hold it in place here. The square knot is the knot that we're going to be doing for the rest of the bracelet, so you'll pick up how to do that quite quickly. Onto the 2 knotting threads, I've threaded 15 size 6 seed beads onto each side of the cord, and then I've tied a knot at the bottom of the cord so that the beads don't fall off. Now, as you can see on the cord that's in my left hand, I've tied 2 knots so that I can keep track of which cord is which when I'm doing this particular knot. Because I want the bracelet to, the knotting to lie flat rather than twist, I have to make sure that the same cord sits on the top of every knot that I'm making. If I wanted a twisted bracelet, then I'd just alternate so that they sat top and the cord sat top and bottom on either side, and that would give you a twist. But because that's not what I'm aiming for, I just need to keep track of which cord is which. So how we're going to make the bracelet. As I said, I've tied a set of square knots at the top here already, and I've just put a pin in it just to hold it in place so that it doesn't lift up and down off the mat. But there's still enough play in the cord that I can thread underneath it. I'm going to slide all but the bead that's nearest to the knot away down the length of the cord on either side. And then I'm going to make the square knot. So to do this, I'm going to take the cord that's got the 2 knots on the end in my left hand over the top of the knotting, the core thread, sorry. And then I'm going to take the right hand cord over the top, under the core, and up through the gap on this side. So the cords have swapped sides, and you've got the core thread caught in the middle of the knot. If I pull that tight, what will happen is that the knots will come together, and the pair of size 6 seeds will sit with the holes parallel to the core threads. I'm then going to make the second half of the knot without sliding any beads up this time. So this time it's the cord that's in my right hand that's got the 2 knots on the end. So that one comes over the top and underneath the cord that's on the other side. The cord that's got the single knot goes underneath the core and up through that loop there. And just pull it through. Pull it tight. And there's the second half of the square knot. So for the next one, we're just going to repeat what we've just done. So we're going to slide a size 6 bead up on either side. And then we're going to take the cord on the left hand side over the core and under the second cord. Then we're going to take the cord on the right hand side under the central core and up through the loop. Okay, just make sure you don't catch your loops anywhere. Pull that up, and again you can see that sitting with the beads parallel, and then do the second half of the knot. And this is essentially the technique for the whole bracelet, which you can make as long or as short as you want. So the 15 beads that I've threaded on here will do approximately 3¼ inches. It does depend slightly on how tight you do your knots. I've got quite tight, as we've said in previous videos, my tension is quite tight. So if you're a slightly looser knotter, you might find that the length that you get is slightly longer. If you want to make it so that you've got more beads in the centre, then you can add extra beads. You need approximately 6 beads to make an inch of knotting, so you can just adjust the length, the number of beads that you are adding there. So again, let's just make the second half of this knot, and you can see how this is building up quite quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep doing this all the way down until I've got all of the 15 beads on each side of the cords in place, and then I'll show you how I'm going to add the clasp. So I shall be back with you in a couple of minutes. Okay, so I'm just coming to the end of the knotting on the bracelet, so I've just got 2 beads left to add. So I'll just do these, and then we can add the clasp. Now you can, if you choose to with this bracelet, add a sliding clasp, which is something we've done in videos in the past. So you can do it so you can either knot the cords over one another so it slides. If you're going to do that, you will need to leave a longer tail. I'd suggest you start with 1 metre of cord for the core and do it that way, or you can make a separate set of square knots that that act as the clasp. But I'm actually going to put a metal clasp on. The person that I'm making this for just prefers something that's a metal clasp to something that's one that's done with cord. So what I'm going to do is I've tied my square knot, my pair of square knots underneath this pair of beads here, and then I'm just going to tie the cords together a second time. Just an overhand knot that just sits up against the body of the beads. And then what I'll do is I'll get some either clear nail varnish or PVA glue, and I'll just put some on that knot to seal it. Once the nail varnish is dried, I'm going to trim these tails reasonably close to the knot, but not right next to it, because we don't want it to pull out. So just trim that off with my scissors, and then take the pins out here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a ball and socket fastener, pair of box lace ends, and I've got 2 4mm jump rings that I'm going to use to attach the clasp to the box ends. So to use the box clasp, I'm just going to use my pliers to just start to fold this one side in slightly. It's a little bit awkward because you haven't got much to hold on to, but just going to fold it over to give it a start. I'm going to attach it on the end of this pair of cords here. So I'm going to continue to squeeze that side down there, and then I'm going to fold this other side over the top like that, so that makes that nice and flat. I'm then going to use it to measure the length that I need to cut off this side, like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this box end. So give it a squeeze to get it started. Tuck your 2 ends in. Just keep them in place with the dip your fingernail. You can use a little tiny spot of clear nail varnish or PVA glue on there if you need to as well. And then again, we'll fold that side over, and then we'll fold this side over the top. And squeeze that flat. So that's the 2 cord ends secured in the box lace ends. I'm then going to use my second pair of pliers, and I'm just going to open the jump ring by twisting it open like so, through your box end and the clasp. Close that up, and then the other side. Whoops, twist it open through the box end and add the clasp. Close that up, and there's our finished bracelet, the pop clasp on. Now, as I say, you can make this central piece longer if you wanted to. So if you want it to go the whole width of your wrist, you can do that. You just need to make sure you leave enough room on the end to put your box clasp on, and don't forget to take into account the length of the clasp that you've chosen to use, because that will add, that's adding approximately 1 inch to the overall finished length of the bracelet. So that's just something to bear in mind. So there we have it. There's our macrame friendship bracelet.